Welcome to Her Life Unscripted podcast, inspiring burnt out, stressed out, and stretched thin women to embrace the unscriptedness of life. Hosted by Anna Osborne.
Hello, lovely ladies, and welcome to Her Life Unscripted, episode 61. I am your host, Anna Osborne, and I am so excited to be here with you in the month of June, where we are celebrating all things birthday for Her Life Unscripted 1-year anniversary, which is super exciting. It's actually really funny that we are doing a whole month-long celebration because for those of you that know me, and maybe those of you that don't know me so well, I believe that birthdays are a season we celebrate, and I am a December baby. And so the whole month of December, it is so filled with festivities and stuff around the holidays and all the hullabaloo that I just think the whole month is there to celebrate. And, although mostly my birthday is overshadowed by lots of Christmas and Hanukkah and year end and things like that, I still believe that birthdays should be celebrated for a season rather than just a day, which I realize is more of a female thing than a male thing. My brother-in-law his birthday is close to my mom's and my niece's, his daughter. And whenever we get together, he's about 3 weeks before the rest of them. And whenever we get together around Easter time, we always do a birthday cake because it's typically right near my niece's and my mom's birthday. And we always include my brother-in-law in our happy birthday song. And he always kind of laughs and is like, my birthday was a month ago, or my birthday was 3 weeks ago. Like, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, oh, that's right. You are a male. You don't celebrate your birthday a whole month. It is the day that it is, and you move right along. So he's always got this funny look on his face, like, I'm so confused why my name is being sung in the birthday song. So I guess it's a woman thing, right? But I think it's funny that I am now doing this unconsciously of having the Her Life Unscripted 1-year anniversary be an entire month. But I guess it just comes naturally to me. So anyways, all month we are really just looking at different lessons that I've learned from my podcast journey for a year and really wanting to inspire you guys too, to not only look back the last year of your life, the last 6 months of your life, what are the things that you're learning and growing about yourself? Because I believe that self-reflection is such a powerful tool. And I believe that when we can get stuck in this idea of comparing ourselves to others, and that will always be a dead end road and a very dangerous one. But if we have to compare, right? If we are so just, I will compare no matter what, is that my hope is that you compare yourself to yourself, meaning that you compare yourself to who you were 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, 6 years ago, and see your evolution of life through that lens versus the evolution of comparing yourself to others. And my hope and what I try to strive for in my own life is that I always want to be recognizable to myself, right? That as I evolve in life, that I'm still recognizable, but that hopefully throughout each stage of life and each transition I go through, that I do change, that I'm okay with that, and that I want to still resemble myself, but not have it be a carbon copy of who I used to be, because that to me doesn't demonstrate growth. So anyways, just a little side note there. But what we are talking about, the lesson that I have learned this last year of having the podcast, is that it is so energizing to record these episodes, like crazy energizing, to where I have to slow myself down. And I do know I talk fast. I have to slow myself down. I cannot do it before I go to bed because I cannot go to sleep. And right afterwards, I have to go do something active, whether or not it's, go take a walk, go for a run, play with my kids, whatever it is, call a friend. I have to do something with all the energy that comes from this podcast because it is so energizing sitting down with a microphone and being able to talk and connect with all of you. And when I do interviews, it takes that energy level to the next height. And so it's almost like I'm not grounded. I'm so energized. I can't sleep. And I kind of feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof, like I just feel invincible after I record an episode. And so I got really curious about that, right? Of what is so energizing about this process. And honestly, it's because I love it. I really, really enjoy what is being created through the connections with all of you and through what I'm learning about myself, that it's almost like this unquenchable thirst happens where as I'm going through and I'm doing these episodes and recording these interviews, I'm getting so energized by what I'm learning and what I'm seeing and who I'm getting to know that I get like overwhelmingly excited. Now, the downside of that is that I, as a kid, had a pretty bad speech disorder. I had a lisp, I had a stutter, I couldn't say a lot of words, and I spoke so fast that I would swallow my words. And I am very self-conscious of that, even as an adult. I went through years of speech therapy, and those were very, very hard years because I don't know how they do it now. My kids aren't school age yet, but when I went through, I would have the speech teacher come to my classroom and kind of, wave me over, and I'd have to leave the class and walk in front of all of my classmates over to her, and we would walk down the hall to her speech room. And then I would get done with speech and I would get let out to recess from her class. Gosh, I still remember this. And I would get let out of her resource room onto recess. But oftentimes, we'd have the door open because it would be warm, and all the kids would go out to recess and they'd walk by and they'd see me in that room getting my speech therapy. And they'd be out to recess, and then I'd join them a few minutes late, which felt so ostracizing and different. And as a kid, the sad thing is we don't want to be different, right? Despite how different we are. And so actually, funny enough, is my older sister is a speech pathologist and works in the schools. And she says that part of her inspiration was really seeing me struggle and how hard it was on my self-esteem as a little kid of not being able to talk, not being able to be understood. And even just a few years ago, I remember asking my mom about how did I get flagged to go into speech? How did they figure out that I couldn't talk and no one could understand me, which is a funny question because it's quite obvious, right? She actually said that she reached out to the teacher and knew that I needed some help and asked, what are the resources, and kind of got me into it probably earlier than the school would have pulled me, because the school would have kind of waited to see if I would have figured it out on my own. And quite honestly, I wouldn't have figured it out on my own. I did need the therapy. And I remember, literally, this was probably 8 years ago when my mom told me this, or when I asked, and part of me was so angry at her that she initiated something that at that time was very, 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 very painful for me. I felt very ostracized, very different. And obviously, I've now moved to a place where I have appreciation that she did that. And I probably was able to resolve the speech issues a lot quicker because I got help earlier, right? But it is something to this day I'm very, very self-conscious about. And so when somebody says to me, you need to slow down, you talk too fast, you talk too much. I've been told that too, but you need to slow down, you talk too fast, or I can't understand you, or I can't hear you. Those things, although they can be said with so much love, I prickle. Right? It is such a raw spot. And even my husband, who I love to death, and he knows this vulnerability, when he says, oh, I didn't hear you, he knows that I automatically have to kind of slow down and not feel like that is a criticism. Now, clearly, I know that I talk fast. I try so hard to work on it. And when people remind me to slow down, I appreciate it. I really do. And when somebody can't understand me, I would much rather them ask what I said versus just not hear it. But it's constantly something I have to remind myself to not only slow down, but that when I get that feedback, it is helpful feedback. It's not trying to hurt because they don't know this backstory. Well, they might now, because now I'm recording an episode. I did not think I would go this far into it. But the point of it is that this podcasting journey, which I shared last week, is really, really vulnerable. And part of the reason I think that it's so vulnerable is that it is purely auditory, right? It is all speech, and you can't see me to be able to see what I'm saying. I have to make sure that what I'm saying is clear. And I know that sometimes it's not clear, right? And that sometimes I want to go back and re-record an episode and make it more clear, but that wouldn't be the way that this podcast rolls, which is that it is unscripted, right? And so what I have to do is recognize that something I've chosen to do that's very energizing for me actually then puts me into a place where I'm talking fast and bringing up that insecurity. So it becomes this very interesting conflict that happens, right? Of I am so energized by what I do. And I am so grateful that I get to connect with all of you in this way. And yet it gets me so 10 feet tall and bulletproof that I forget to slow down. And then I get the insecurity of, oh my gosh, can anybody even understand me? Or am I talking too fast? Am I swallowing my words? And I don't know, right? I would say that most people that find out that I went through a couple years of speech therapy are surprised because they don't hear those stutters come up or the speech impediment. But I know my ear hears it very, very sensitively because it is a vulnerability, right? And so it is so interesting that I am doing something that puts me in a space to be heard even more, and that it's something that gets me so excited I forget to slow down. And I think that in some ways that's a good thing, right? That I have found this passion, and I am so curious for all of you about where you find your energy, whether it is through your work, through your volunteerism, through your parenting, through being an aunt, through being a grandmother. What are the things that really bring energy into your life? And not only where do you draw it from, but what does it say about you, right? For me, what I have realized, and Lord knows this was not a hard discovery to make, that I am energized by communicating, right? I'm energized by connecting with other people, around sharing stories, around hearing stories. And those are all things that are just amazingly powerful for me. And therefore, I have leaned into opportunities where I have been allowed to connect more. And I know people in this world that are amazing, and they are more introverted, that they get their energy from slowing down and connecting more on a one-on-one basis versus a one-on-many. And that their energy comes from writing. Their energy comes from creativity. Their energy comes from leading quietly, right? And so for me, that is such a cool thing that can happen when we realize and really tap into the energy sources in our lives. We have these unique gifts that we bring to the world, and that when we really tap into them, it's almost like this underground hot springs opens up, right? Where it's like the source of the energy is so hot and bubbly, inviting, because it is where we go and we can just tap into and access those unique gifts. And so really my intention today, as we talk about, the lessons I've learned, is to really challenge you to look to see where you draw your energy from. What are the things you do that help you feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof? Like, what are the things that you can put very little energy into? Well, that's not the right way of saying it. Like, you can put less in than you get out. Right? Like, I put a lot of energy into this podcast, but it is just a fraction of what I get from it. I am so energized by your stories, by your struggles, by your successes, by your obstacles. I am so inspired by your vulnerability, by your passion. And every single time one of you reaches out via the SpeakPipe app or emailing me to Anna at her Life Unscripted, I am energized tenfold, not because of what I put into it, but what I'm getting out of it. And that to me helps me follow that thread, follow that line to find more opportunities to connect in that way because I'm so energized by it. So I want to challenge all of you. Where do you pull your energy from? Where does that come from, right? And what does it say about you? What are the things that you need to lean into because the amount of energy that you put into it comes out tenfold? And I want to inspire and encourage all of you to access that hot spring, like go to that spot and allow yourself to embrace the energy you get from it, and really to be able to realize that although it may bring up insecurities and vulnerabilities like me with my speech and when it goes too fast and that kind of that childhood story, is don't let that stop you. Don't let the things that bring you energy and insecurities stop you. Instead, honor that they're there and make room for them and continue moving along with them, right? I have to honor the insecurity I have around speaking and those childhood experiences of feeling so different and so ostracized for needing to go to the speech ladies room, right? And also realize that my sister has this beautiful gift of being able to help people with their speech. And of course, the way the world works is I have a sweet baby girl who has a little speech impediment. And she is so excited every time she sees her Auntie Coco to work on that. And I know that once she goes into kindergarten, that I will probably encourage her to do some speech work so that she can move past that and not let her have that hold her back. And I also need to realize that I am repeating the same cycle that happened in my family, and that hopefully one day she will be very, very grateful for it. And that although that insecurity is there for me, to know that I don't have to let it hold me back, and I can allow myself to follow this energy. So that is my intention from today, and really my encouragement to all of you, that I do hope the things that bring you energy, even if they raise insecurities, that you're able to lean into that and really just honor your unique gifts and share them with the world. We are hungry for them. I am hungry to hear and learn about your unique gifts. So I encourage all of you to reach out via the SpeakPipe app or to Anna at Her Life Unscripted. And I cannot wait to hear from all of you. Thank you for letting me into your worlds, into your hearts. And it's just a beautiful day. And I'm excited to be able that I had this time to connect with all of you. Take care, ladies. Bye-bye.
Want to learn about the latest retreats, workshops, and speaking events hosted by Anna? Head over to herlifeunscripted.com to get in on all the juicy details. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast so we can continue to grow our amazing audience. Lastly, be sure and send in your voice feedback via the SpeakPipe app or to Anna at herlifeunscripted.com. We can't wait to hear from you.